Welcome back to It Tastes Like Burning, this Matt.
This Jesse.
And per the usual, let me give you the old podcast notes real quick. You can always reach out to us at ittasteslikeburningcast@gmail.com. You can find us at Twitter at itlbcast. You can find us on the subreddit of itlbcast. And you're feeling real froggy, you can support us on Patreon at It Tastes Like Burning. Jesse, what did we do today?
Oh my gosh, we did skills testing for hazmat.
Everyone's favorite subject.
Yeah, no, it was somewhere between getting ran over by a steamroller and sodomized by an elephant.
How many students did we have today for skills
I think
testing?
we did 22.
Yeah. And we did now on the skills, was there any written test in there, or is
No,
it
that's
just the skills?
Just the skills portion. And we did recruit academy orientation prior to that. So we had 2 hours of that before we broke into about, 4 hours of skills stuff.
And just so people are curious in the land, what exactly skills did we cover today? Just not the breakdown, just a full.
We did a hazmat awareness skill, basically using the ERG book and going through that kind of stuff, and then a couple of hazmat operation skills that centered around managing a scene and decontamination and some stuff on those lines.
What's your big takeaway from anything with hazmat?
We're the fire department. We're not there to fix the problem that per se. Like, we're there to, rescue some folks, possibly stop the release if that's something that we can do safe enough. But short of having a dedicated hazmat response team that's trained to a higher level than operations, that's getting to that technician level or that more advanced stuff, we're not. That's not in our purview.
Yeah, I've always looked at hazmat kind of as recognize, isolate, mitigate, and separate.
Yeah. Time, distance, and shielding.
Yeah.
Right?
Just, I would say the sneakiest thing with hazmat is actually realizing that you have a hazmat, and that can be sneaky sometimes. And then the other part of that is, okay, so you've said we have X hazmat event. What on earth should we do to actually try and do something about X, Y, and Z and figure out what on earth was going on here? Hazmat's one of those things that there's two camps. You're either all for it or you're diabolically opposed against it. I won't say that I'm in a much rarer staked out camp and just say, you need to know that hazmat can be really bad, really, really, really bad. And you need to realize that sometimes it's not just about people that you need to be aware of with a hazmat event, and that you can have a just monstrous environmental problem. And I'm not exactly the world's biggest tree hugger, but you don't necessarily need, a train car after train car after train car going into lake, river, pond, stream, and feeding downriver and on and on and on. And the problem with the hazmat event is that it's one of those gifts that can keep on giving if you're not careful with it. You can go on the extreme side of that, and shame on me, I can't remember that little old Palestine.
East Palestine.
Yeah. The fire department's not remotely culpable for any of that, and I realize that's kind of an extreme case, but is it? I mean, how many people have railroad cars going through their areas, and what's on there? The most dangerous crap in the United States is shipped in bulk on railroad cars. I could argue just damn near every single person in the country has the potential for just a county-ending hazmat event, and it's just something that you see because it's an inconvenience when you're stopped at the railroad crossing. And hazmat, as East Palestine found out, can be truly bad. Truly bad.
Yeah, and the fact of just this stuff, the products and the byproducts of chemistry that society relies on now, with the plastics and the everything else that goes along with that.
Yeah, hydrocarbon based.
Hydrocarbon stuff everywhere. That it's a matter of time on all that stuff, and it's as simple as if you've got a gas station in your town. There's a big truck going to that gas station that's hauling 6,000 gallons
Yeah.
of volatile fuel. If and you say, well, I live out in the middle of nowhere. I'm in the country. Well, a propane truck comes to your house,
Mm-hmm.
right? I've been to a few propane truck rollovers, and that's a sketchy deal, right? Most of the time it's fine and they don't leak and they get uprighted and they get hauled off or pumped out or whatever, and they get hauled off and no harm, no foul, but that's not always how it works out.
Yeah, the closest tangle that I've ever had with a big propane truck is car accident, bad call, truck leaves highway, and perfectly wedges itself. The cab is not split in half. It's kind of the reverse of that. It's smashed into half as the tractor plows in between two 500-year-old oak trees, and the trailer's still attached. And the trailer, in this case, the 8,000 or 6,000 gallon propane tank is wedged in between the two 500-year-old oak trees. And it was a bad accident. We had to do an extrication on the semi truck, and the other vehicle. There wasn't much to do there, but I mean, first thing coming off the truck, other crews went to the guy that was stuck in the cab. Because first thing I did is walked right up to that tank, looking at it, listening, and then ultimately kind of stuck my head up on the tank to see if there was a leak, because we couldn't see one at first. Walk around it, don't see anything, don't smell anything, but there's enough oomph, bang, and wow stuck in between those trees where it's like, oh my God. And the poor semi-truck driver, talking to him, he's not too excited about talking to us about his load, but he doesn't have a choice, because I assure you he's not going anywhere. Yeah. And he was freshly topped off, driving off to make a delivery. So he had, I forgot how much he said, but he was fully loaded for how they carry those trucks down the highway. And it was like, oh my God, we got lucky on that one.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't want to bore everyone with the old hazmat talk today. That's not really the purpose of this. The thing I kind of want to rabbit hole down is, and as we were sitting here preparing for the old podcast, which was 3 seconds and a nod of the head, is the interesting direction that we're about to step off to with our training program. I give credit to any department that trains at any time, and being able to go above mundane everyday training to the next level is a challenge, and it takes a commitment from the instructor and the participants. And then, that's going from basically talking about the same things day in and day out to actually trying to follow some sort of curriculum and saying, hey, we want to branch out a little bit. We're gonna at least do something different. And then the next level in there is actually saying, hey, there's some certifications out there. Why don't we go get those? And then kind of the next level after that is figuring out how to bring in guest instructors, and instead of having your entire fire training and your fire background be this one linear, just leapfrogging event from old member to new member turns into old member, and then indoctrinating the new member and bringing in guest instructors. So once you've kind of hit that pinnacle, the next part of that is, well, what do you do with all these certifications that everyone has? And maybe attempting to try and figure out how to get credit for them. Then the next level of that is saying, why don't we actually have a standard of training? whatever that is, maybe IFSTA, maybe your state regulatory agency, whatever. And then the next level of that is trying to integrate into your department that standard of training across everyone. And then advancing off of that is saying, well, crap, we sure do work a lot with these other departments. Why don't we bring them in? And now, well, actually, we're not there yet. Now, before that, the next level is trying to make it, I'm going to say regional, but I do mean soft regional. We'll just say the departments that are touching you.
Yeah.
Okay. Counties right next to you, trying to snag them and bring them in. And then we're at where we're at now. And it's a really awesome, difficult, holy crap amount of time, energy, and effort by multiple people to finally get to the point where we're at starting this time.
Years of effort
Yeah.
have gone into getting us where we are right now.
Yeah, because there's no, and I by no means want to take any credit away from how phenomenal, amazing, incredible, and special where Jesse's taking training, but you can't make that leap in 1 year.
No.
There's so much that had to happen for today to happen, and it was. I mean, I could arguably say, bad example, but we'll just use me and my time on the department as the example. And that took 13 years to reach today.
Well, it is something that not one individual can accomplish.
No, I don't care how big or small your department is. That is not an individual effort.
It takes buy-in from a group of individuals. It takes buy-in from the participants. It takes buy-in from the neighboring departments.
Chiefs.
And chiefs. It takes buy-in from the rest of your department. It takes, because the support that it takes to accomplish this outside of the instructors and all that, just the financial support of the department to be willing to spend some money on a program or spend the money on the facilities or on and on, right? Just that aspect of it and the buy-in of your membership to commit to this is the right thing to do and this is what we're doing going forward is huge. So it's as much credit to the board members, to everybody that votes for us to do these things. It takes all of them.
The membership's participation, the county's department's participation, commissioners, city council, judges. I mean, the thank you card goes pretty big. I mean, at this point, you're almost at a joke store getting an 8x5 thank you card. And if everyone wrote in one point font, they might be able to get everyone's name on that card. Right. It's a colossal commitment, and the kicker is it's the proverbial, at the end of the day, how far do you want to take it, and then ultimately, I would argue, how insane are you willing to commit to it?
Right.
And there's, and the best part of it is again, it's you got to get your whole Oregon Trail team together, because it don't matter how insane you are. If you're by yourself, you're not going to make it too far down the trail. You got to have a whole little of the wagon trains all attached to you to be going off on this journey. And the cooperation and help that we've had at a state level is significant, and very, very grateful to have their support. And to me, it's going to be real interesting to see how many people do we have in this particular class. It's about 35 to 40, right?
Yeah, we're just short of 30.
Okay. So
just short of 30.
so we're gonna call it 30 just for the simple numbers. Let's pretend, and you'll have an attrition rate of some type. So we'll say 20 people. 20 people finish our little program. They're going to come out with their hazmat awareness and ops, firefighter 1 and 2, skill tested and written tested. For lack of better words, in the state of Texas, that's SFFMA firefighter 1 and 2 certified. And if you're not in Texas, or even if you're in Texas, you would understand that being able to host an academy rising from nothing, there's no guidance on this. This entire program's based, the guidance from the state is directed to the departments to do their own in-house training. There's not a regional or district or, statewide design in this. It's designed to be handled in-house. And we've taken the entire training curriculum and made it an actual, truly beneficial multi-department function. And I truly hope that people understand at how incredible what's about to happen is, and so unique. And that's something that's just so different about our department is that I'm going to say we have that luxury where we can really step off into the weeds with our spatula with nails in it and just start tacking whatever's crawling around in the darkness. And every now and then we pull out a gold bar.
So there's lots of institutions that do this, right? So you got colleges and higher learning institutions that are developing programs like this that are doing it for volunteers or career or whatever they're doing it for. They have a distinct advantage, right? They've got staff, they've got people that are doing this stuff.
Yeah, they're basically paid to do this.
They're paid to do this, number one, right? They get to go out and pick the best people from all the surrounding area to hire as instructors and to do that. Now, I'm not at all saying that our instructors are not fabulous. We have good people and good instructors doing excellent work. But we're working within the confines of what we've got, right?
Right.
So just that fact of it, and just that we're able to piece that together and have the people to piece that together in a form that works, that's monumental.
Right. Well, the analogy that just kind of popped into my head is that volunteers have a tendency to be left on a desert island in a lot of capacities: funding, reputation, overall appreciation, consideration. And some of that's self-inflicted, on and on. Here's my point. On our desert island, in our one coconut tree, we literally made a boat. And we never cut the tree down. And I know that's kind of melodramatic, but it is. This is just this is unheard of. This is different. And it'll be interesting, particularly with, God, I don't want to say, with the rebuilding that SFFMA is going to have to do. We're basically laying out the groundwork of how they need to rebuild SFFMA in the state.
Yeah. There's a lot to be learned from everywhere you go and everything you see. So that's a big part of what's driven me to take the state appointment, to do some of these things that I've done throughout the years, is to change the view from that myopic view that you get from your you're in your little cocoon at your department, and all you see is what the guy before you taught you, and reaching out and learning new ideas and learning new techniques and learning new stuff is how we all get better. Because I'm here to tell you, I've learned stuff from people that was earth shattering, better way to do it, from people that you would not have expected and shouldn't have got the answer from. Right? You're so far out of the realm of what you thought you knew, or what you thought you knew about those individuals, that it's shocking, and you learn things that you wouldn't have learned otherwise.
Right. Yeah, there is, I don't know, there's so much opportunity, and there is, well, whatever. At the end of the day, it's going to be a feather to put in a cap. Whether it's for ourselves, or whether it's for the organization or the community. It's just, at the heart of this, it goes down to just the uniqueness of the potential of what volunteers can provide for a community if they embrace being volunteer, and if they actually have the support and the backing of the community behind them. There's a really unique opportunity here. And it's the one thing that I will add to it is it's fragile, particularly right now.
Yeah.
I don't worry about it today, tomorrow, into the year, into next year. But I will say this, I worry about, for lack of better words, burnout. Okay. And what I see happening is it's a colossal project. And there's a couple of us, mainly Jesse and Gene, but there's also a couple of others at the head of the head pulling along. And the kicker is that oddly enough, we're going to make it to the top of the hill. But when we get to the top and we're on the downward trend, the group that got it there, I don't want to say they're tired, but they're going to be tired.
Oh, yeah.
And they're going to want, and it's not that they're going to want to step away and take a break, but they need to step away and take a break. And this is kind of the second half of this discussion, is you can't be foolish enough to sit there and not include the people that are coming up through your program right now and pull them into this, so that when you are ready to step away and take a breather, that they are able to actually catch their breath and let that next generation, that next group come up and be like, look, there is a whole bunch to this. All you have to do is follow the spreadsheet. Yeah. But the kicker is you got to do it.
And I think that's an important thing that I personally have done. Matt, you did it. Gene does it. Like, when we're building this stuff and we're working on this stuff, we're creating the back end of it. So we're creating the documentation. We're creating the drive and the content that's there forever. So the next person that comes behind us doesn't have to start from square one.
Right.
They can start from square 200 and then keep going to square 400, right? They don't have to back up. And that's one thing that I saw a lot just through the years of watching other departments and seeing transitions in departments, is that a lot of them start from square one every couple of years, and they try to reinvent the wheel. And
right.
Instead of building upon something that's already working and already good, and maybe you throw away a couple pieces of it and you add your twist and you build upon that, and you didn't really like this one thing, and that goes away, and we add two more new things, which is the way it should happen, right? So that you're not backing up all the way from square one. You're not starting over. The changes that I've made to this program have purely been an organizational changes.
Mm-hmm.
It's been taking the information that was already there, rebranding it, repackaging it, and making it to where it wasn't all just in somebody's head, that person held the key to the castle to administer the program. I've tried to make it so that the next generation, the next person that comes behind me, literally walks in, hits the play button, and then changes what they want and goes on.
Right. Well, and this is part of trying to figure out how to get a organization, department, your membership behind an idea or ideology or concept. Particularly from my end, being chief. Do not micromanage. Leave it alone. Let people do what they want to do. Give them time. Always make the joke that there's nothing in the volunteer service, particularly from the administrative side, that moves quickly. You could measure events in a volunteer department, at least ours, on like a geological time scale. Okay. It takes forever for something to really mature and come through,
Right.
deliver. And don't get anxious. Let it happen.
Yeah. I mean, I'm what, 3 years in training here now?
3 years, but legitimately you get a complete pass on 20 because
Right.
of COVID.
But 3 years of training, being in charge of training, and the first year was get your feet under you, figure out what there is. Year 2, make some changes. Year 3, make some changes, improve, grow. Like that's the cycle. And I'm going to tell you, in our organization, 3 or 4 years of managing something this involved, that's it. That's the time for the transition to somebody else for fresh ideas.
Right. Well, because the other part of this is that you still have the old program that you have to maintain.
Right.
You can't just completely revamp, overhaul, ditch, rebuild, completely implement, and substitute while you're in the middle of 2 fire academies.
Right.
It just doesn't work that way. 1, you'd go insane. 2, arguably, particularly for us, it's too much. I mean, in that 3 years, we've had 150 students.
Oh, every bit of that.
So, I mean, you still got to take care of them. You still got to focus on them. You still need to make sure they have the quality training that you're trying to provide, while trying to be forward thinking and prepare for the upcoming academy while still trying to rebuild the program. Rebuild's the wrong word. We keep refresh. We keep using the term revision.
Yeah.
I would say that when I took over training, which feels like 1,000 years ago now, we'll call that revision number 2. And as I went through it, I probably went through, I'd say 2, maybe 3 or 4 major revisions. We'll say 3. 3 for sure.
Yeah, I'm on 2.
So so if you take my 2 or 3, we'll say 2, your 2. We're on revision 6 right now.
And plus we added the hazmat program this year. So
Call it
that
6
that
and a
program,
half, 7.
yeah, that program's less than a year old. And at less than a year, it's produced 20 something people through it that are all it's varying levels of success, but it's produced 20 something people that have participated in the process.
Yeah. It just it's its own fire academy where the students pay nothing.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I think it's awesome. It's going to be real interesting to see where it goes. Um,
In its next iteration and its next leader, right?
right.
When my leadership time is done with it, and the next person that takes it to the next level and the next level, and as a department, we've just got to ensure that we're our expectation is that it's going to continue to grow and continue to foster and become more than it is today.
Right.
Because the minute that we turn our backs and we don't worry about it, and the person that ends up in that spot doesn't have vision or doesn't have the ability to grow or maintain, it's going backwards, right?
Oh yeah, no. The second they can't maintain, we're doomed,
Right.
and the fall will be like an angel from heaven. It really will be. And it'll be pretty rough. I think the other side of this that's a huge benefit right now is that this is an SFFMA thing where our district is historically very weak, and SFFMA is trying to lace up their bootstraps again. So you kind of have this general hunger across the district as a whole. Let's pretend that we're remotely successful in a historically very poor performance district, very, very low turnout. Let's say we're remotely successful in reviving that and combine that with SFFMA growth statewide. I could potentially see not anytime soon, but let's say 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road, where the program's strong. Well, it's strong because the district leadership and district training is also housed out of the department that was the driving force behind this. And so you've got a couple of other landmines that you can potentially fall on here. One, the department that's the driving force behind it just hits a rough patch. They start to struggle, hard times, whatever. The other compounding factor on this is that another department who benefits from the program feels very full of themselves, and they take over the district not realizing how much work it is.
Right.
And being overcome, overwhelmed, and for lack of better words, crushed to death by the amount of work that they weren't anticipating. And that'll do as much damage as anything.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's that ebb and flow, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the ebb and flow of the whole thing in the volunteer fire service that when you're on those upticks and you're in that growth portion of the life cycle, that you've got to capitalize on every square inch of it you can capitalize on. And when you hit that peak and you're starting the way down, especially in this district thing, it needs to hand off at that point to somebody else.
Right.
Whether terms are up or whatever, it doesn't matter. You've got to ride those ups so that the peaks continue to go up. Like there's going to be up and downs in the small picture, but the overall picture's got to trend upward.
Here's the other part of that too. The likelihood of us becoming, for lack of a better word, stagnant, overworked, out of challenges. We've already risen it from here to here. And your ability to start maintaining the status quo, well, we just need to maintain here. I would argue that's the exact moment, just like you were talking about, that you need to get real serious about getting some different leadership in there. Someone with a fresh fire, new torch, and handed it off, and just tell them, yep, it's dark that way, start running. And just turn them loose and run with it. The kicker is you can't be prideful here. Why did you originally do this? Did you do this to be able to put the feather in your cap? Or at the core of it, did you do it to make your department better, your mutual aid better, and the departments around you better? Yeah. Okay? If that was the original cause and call for action here, and there's nothing wrong with reaching your limit and being like, you know what, I've done enough, and handing this critter off. There's nothing wrong with that.
And we're going to sidebar here on just what you just said. I've been the guy that's taken it as far as what my I wouldn't say my abilities, but my willingness to give my time, my effort, my energy to the point where you're tired and you're trying to pass it off, and there's nobody to take it. Right. That's a huge challenge, and realize that what's worse, you keeping it and not giving it that your all, and not doing all you can, or giving it to somebody else and them not being able to reach the level that you're at. I would say you keeping it and not giving it your all is worse.
Oh, yeah.
Let them take it, give it their all, but maybe they're not to your level, but maybe they'll get there quick and they'll pass it.
And one thing I want to highlight here, and this is at the end of the day, this is the fact. If you reached that point, you actually failed, because that means you didn't train the people that be able to take it over. You were power hungry, you were closed-minded, whatever you want to pick. The fact of the matter is that you should have been sitting there doing your absolute damnedest to make sure that there was enough people in place to be able to help take this critter over.
And my thought process and my angle on that is not that there wasn't people that were capable. Are there people that are willing, right?
Well, there's a lot of people that say they're willing.
Right.
Are they willing is a different answer, though.
Yeah, that's the kicker. You can train them to the point where they're capable, but if they're not willing to put in the time, energy...
I think the rare thing, particularly for us, is that very definitively, this is the first time that I've ever encountered it, and it's not just literally in our volunteer fire department. This is my entire adult working life in any capacity. We have 3 people, myself, yourself, and Gene, that all magically ended up in the same organization that have this weird dogged determination for seeing something through.
Yeah, no, that's a thing.
That's actually really rare. I mean, and I feel really sorry for
everybody around us.
Everybody else, because it's not that, chances are, if you're one of the people listening to this, you're probably that guy that really cares. And it's not that everyone else doesn't care. It's just at the end of the day, they have different priorities in their life. Maybe family, church, whatever, work. And you're by your lonesome. And the only thing I can really encourage you to do is to go find that other poor bastard that's like you and figure out how to either be in the same district or, God forbid, the same organization. Because when you can take those people and start force multiplying, it's an exponential factor when you actually have full support from individuals where you're lucky enough they're in the position to just okay it automatically. People that are willing to dedicate their time, energy, and effort into the project and then ultimately be supported for it.
Well, and there's another component to that, right? Because a lot of times people that get to those positions of leadership, and I almost said positions of power, but really what power do we have? We don't have any power.
Yeah, none.
We're we're in positions of leadership, but a lot of times people that get to those points become greedy, and not greedy in the sense of money, but greedy in the sense of power and prestige and all those things. Entitlement. And you've got people in you, me, and Gene that's not how we look at things, and that's not who we are, right? So it doesn't. We're just as happy being the peon as we are being the chief or the captain or whatever it is. Like, it's fine, and we're still gonna do the job we're doing with or without the title. We're still gonna do the things that need to happen. We're still gonna take the right approach. We're still gonna put that time, energy, and effort into the others around us, regardless of what that title was.
Right. Now, the one thing I want to bird dog on, and Jesse, you can you can correct me if you don't agree with this or not. Each and every person has a reason for being on a department. Each and every person has a reason that they've chosen to participate and involve themselves in whatever role they have on their department. Now, for me as chief, one thing that, and this is just a personal thing, this is a personal caveat thing, and this is one thing that I really enjoy about being chief. I really like the fact, because it goes back to my business background, that we're building this really unique volunteer department. And the fact of the matter is the amount of money that we're saving our community on a yearly basis is staggering. And I really, really like that. And it's not, I don't run around blasting that. I don't really talk about it. I would talk about it when I have to. But something that's really appealing to me is the question of, what is the pinnacle of a volunteer fire department? Really think about that question for a second. Not, how do you know if you have a good volunteer fire department? We have a good volunteer fire department, period. What's the pinnacle? How high can you really go? What are things that you need to consider from a success point of view? In other words, what do you put on a professional resume? And for me, the ability to turn around and justify saving millions, theoretically tens of millions of dollars a year to the citizens and the business owners, I like that. To me, that is something to be really, really prideful in. And part of that, a big part of that, is this training program, because it has the ability to not only bolster the organization right now, but it has the potential to carry the organization not just next year, not in 5 years, but decades down the road.
Yeah, possibly the next century, right?
Right, because of the decisions made right now. Now, here's the kicker, and the irony in this. Our department's over 115 years old. I legitimately think I am the only person on the department that knows who the original chief is. I couldn't tell you who was the second chief. The work you do today isn't, let me rephrase that, the work I do today isn't for the notoriety. It's, for me, it's the ability to be able to perpetually serve as volunteer, and being able to fast forward some point in the future and know that that's there today because I had a part to do with it. And in a weird way, that's my thing, and I like that.
And I don't want to go off on a side tangent, but the propensity of society is to think that you're better off with a career or fire department, right?
Right.
We run into this all the time.
We get baby seal clubbed with it daily.
And I would argue that sometimes that's true. right? Sometimes if the volunteer fire department is not holding up their end of the bargain, they're not providing quality people, quality training, quality responses in a timely manner, and they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. That yeah, they can get that badge put on them. But if you're doing that, that should almost be celebrated, right? Because it is those tens of millions of dollars that you're talking about that we're saving, and that's not over the next 2 years or 5 years or 10 years. That's this year.
Right. Yeah, that's yearly. I mean, and our city budget's big enough that literally it really is. It's over 10 million a year that we save by being volunteer. And the fact of the matter is that every 10 years we're volunteers, $100 million saved
Yeah.
going forward. I mean, really? You're going to blink your eyes at that? Be like, no, it's fine. Let's go ahead and have a 55% tax increase.
Yeah. In a time in a world where taxes are not the greatest thing in the world to have to deal with, right?
Right.
Yeah. Everybody's paying more than what they should pay. I had lost a train of thought earlier, and I wish I had it back, but we as individuals, and you and me and Gene, like I was talking about, we're not here for. It is apparent and obvious to anybody around us that we're not in this for us, right?
God, I hope you're not thinking that. Jesus.
Like we're not in this for us. We don't do this for us. And I think that's what lends to our success. And if you're that department out there where the leadership is truly in it for them, in it's self gratification or self empowerment or whatever it is, and it's not for the greater good of the organization, there's problems there, and it's time for a leadership change.
Yeah, period.
That's one of the biggest things that we as a group of people and most of the leadership of our department do really well. They're all really, really good about it. And I'm talking from lieutenants up to captains and chiefs and assistant chiefs and all these things. There's not a single one of those individuals that are doing it for an individual's reason. They're doing it for the greater good. The greater good of the community, the greater good of the department, the greater good of the county, the city, and so on and so on and so on. And you get into people like me and Gene, we're stretching that to the region and to the state, just through our efforts and our appointments and roles that we play in the state level of things. So to look at some of those other places that you can tell that there's a kingdom there, right? This isn't a kingdom. Yeah, there's a hierarchy, and yeah, there's theoretically a monarch there, but it's more of a benevolent dictatorship, right?
Right.
That's a huge difference between the and I almost want to say the majority of departments out there, but some of the departments out there and the way ours functions. And at any given time, any of us that are doing it for the selfless reasons could be told, hey, you're getting replaced. This person's going to do your job now. You're going to go over there and do that job. And across the board, they're all fine with it. They don't care. They're going to do whatever job that's where they need to be at the time and what's best for the organization or the community, right? That's a huge thing, and that's a more rare thing than even our training program or anything else that we have going for us. It's that ability for individuals to change roles and be happy to change those roles.
Yeah. It's a unique thing that we have going here. Um, and it's not it's not bought and paid for.
No.
It's one of those things that realizing people's potential in being smarter from my perspective, realizing people's potential, being smart enough to take advantage of the potential, and ultimately I would add just staying the hell out of the way, other than
Steering a little bit.
when input's needed, put it in. Um, Outside of that, probably the absolute death stroke to anything we're doing would be micromanagement,
Yeah.
particularly if the micromanaging comes from a point of view of ignorance. You don't know what you're talking about. You haven't been involved with the program. You don't really have the background. You don't really have, So the micromanagement's not even well received. That would be rough on this. Um, I think the coolest thing about it at the end of the day is the fact that there's so much potential in it. It could completely change. That's the fact of the matter with this. We do not know what this will look like realistically by the end of the academy.
No.
It may be a podcast about, like, holy crap, this was an absolute dumpster fire. Here's what we learned, and here's what we're going to try and implement on the next one.
Well, and that's you hit the nail on the head, right? It's that introspective approach, right? Here's what we learned. Here's what we're going to do different. Here's how we're going to take this challenge going forward. And the majority of the folks out there will live and die on the heel of their idea. And this is what I think, and this is what we're going to do, and this is how it's going to work. And when it doesn't work, they'll double down on that, and they'll triple down on that, and they'll quadruple down on that, and they'll keep trying to force something that's not going to work to the point to where it just breaks the whole damn thing.
Right.
And you see it from top to bottom. I'm going to just go out on a limb and say nationwide, right? I know I've seen it in our area. I've seen it in our district. I've seen it in our state. I've seen it at the state office level. I've seen the determination to take a bad idea all the way through to complete failure.
Right.
And that's just you've got to be wise enough, humble enough, and self-critical enough to realize that sometimes it's time to punt and sometimes it's time to bring in other people to help you come up with the right plan.
Well, and I mean, here's the fact of the matter, though. This is the truth. Some people embrace humble pie with arms wide open and take it for what it is, a learning experience, or they literally get crushed to death off of it. There's like two camps on that. The short answer is that the people that are willing to embrace the learning experience, that's a really limited amount of people. That's a small percentage.
Yeah, I would, and I'd just venture to guess that the same percentage of the people that are willing to accept that humble pie is probably equal to the same number of people that through history have been considered great leaders or great.
Right.
Right? Because the two are going to go hand in hand. It's not going to be, the Napoleons of the world that were ultra successful and ended up carrying on their legacy for 1,000 years. It's going to be the people that were true leaders, and their legacy's going to stand.
Yeah, it's just kind of along these lines. One of my and I truly believe in this. One of the talking about great leaders in the business world is a man named Jack Welch. He was the CEO of GE for a long time. Oh, have the mighty fallen. Jack Welch was notorious for telling everyone that worked under him, "I'm an idiot. The difference is I know how to public speak. You know what you're doing. You need to tell me when I'm wrong." And he was notorious for that. Being very cognizant of the people around him and how to take the people that were around him that had the most potential and squeezing every ounce of potential out of them. And I mean, what he built GE to was staggering. And when he took it over, it was already a very large company, global leader. And he took it even further. And there's no reason in the world that can't be applicable to our little organization.
Right. And the next prime example of that's Musk.
Right.
Yeah, Elon does this. I mean, almost letter for letter, the same exact thing. Has the same philosophy of surround yourself with really good people that are skilled and can do the job regardless of what the qualifications are. That's the kind of the difference with Elon. Is he doesn't care if you've got 17 degrees from MIT on engineering and whatever. If this guy that came from wherever is better at it than you, then he's better at it than you. And bring those guys up to their potential. That's literally the answer is get everybody to their potential and realize too that not everybody's potential is the same.
This is kind of an obscure example, but it's very true and it's very applicable to particularly our organizations. I had the privilege of meeting one of the top engineers for Lockheed Martin. He'd already retired. Quite frankly, he was very old when he retired. And when he retired, one of the last projects that he was working on was satellite missile attack programs for Lockheed Martin. Okay? So he built, designed, and engineered missiles that attack satellites in space. Where did he start at Lockheed Martin?
Oh gosh.
He was a janitor.
Yeah.
So we're talking about one of the premier defense companies in the United States that is aware enough to realize that there's potential everywhere. And the guy literally started as a janitor and retired as a program director for
chief engineer
for Lockheed Martin. Extreme example, not really. If you really think about what I'm telling you, stop being myopic. If you're trying to grow, build, and develop the department, consider the options you have. The options you have are right in front of you. They're your membership. Listen to them. If you have someone that really wants to try something, let them. God forbid you encourage them. Give them the resources. You might be shocked what you get at the back end of that. In the worst case scenario, just in the fact that they get the support and encouragement, you might get a really steady responder. God forbid, at the end of the day, what's this total equation about? Response. So, yeah, I mean, we could ramble on and on about this. There's 50 different ways to make an omelet. That is ultimately up to you, your administration, the membership, and you being part of that membership. And you can either continue to be, we use the analogy, a dinosaur. You can continue to be a dinosaur and be shocked up when you look up and see an asteroid falling. Or you can sit there and actually evolve and figure out how to take, no matter how big or small, how much money or how little or how much money you have, and make the best of it with your organization. It's the answer to all these questions isn't a fiscal thing. It's not. It's a personal problem. Literally, personnel problem. The solution that you're looking for is already in front of you. I'm willing to bet dollars to donuts they're already on your department. The question is are you listening?
Yep. And with that, I think we roll this thing up and put a bow on it.
Works for me.
Yeah.
You stick a fork in me because I'm done.
You want to read those podcast notes and let's go through that?
All right. Reach out to us at ittasteslikeburningcast@gmail.com. We really do appreciate the questions. It's fun to interact with people. You can find us at Twitter at ITLBcast. You can find us on Reddit at ITLB, subreddit of ITLBcast. And if you're feeling real frosty, you can support us on Patreon. We'll send you stickers.
Yeah, and I'm gonna jump in there on the old podcast notes. You know, this thing we've been going on for we're going on 2 years now. Believe it or not,
Is it 2 years or a year and a half?
We're past the year and a half mark.
Okay.
You know, we're right there at the past the year and a half mark. So, you know, Matt and I have been doing this for that long. We've poured our own time, energy, effort, and money into it, and you know, we don't dun you every time we throw that into the notes, but I'm gonna dun you a little bit. If you enjoy our podcast and you appreciate the information we're giving you and the perspective we're giving you, throw us a bone on the Patreon. We really would appreciate it. It helps. It you know, as fulfilling as this is and as much worthwhile it is, it'd be nice if there was a little bit of money to buy a new microphone every once in a while, right?
Yeah.
It's not to pay the bills. It's just to subsidize the event and
or other learning aids.
Yes. The other thing I'm going to ask you to do is get on whatever podcast player you're on and write a review for us. That helps grow the thing. That helps get more listeners. That's kind of the name of the game on this thing. We're getting close to the point where we can say we're a successful podcast, right? We're growing. We're getting there, and with your help, maybe we can get there a little faster.
God forbid.
Yeah. So with that,
this is Matt.
This is Jesse.
Have a good evening.